We've just published our March 2024 Economic and Fiscal Forecast. Here are 5 things you need to know. Looking first at what's happened to inflation and interest rates, we see that inflation has come down faster than we anticipated in November, and we now expect it to fall below 2% later this year. Markets now also expect interest rates to fall faster, alleviating some of the squeeze on household and government finances. Looking next at our economic forecast, despite higher expected growth in the UK population, the medium-term level of GDP is little changed compared to our November forecast. That's because we also expect higher and more persistent rates of economic inactivity, which means real GDP per person is now lower than we expected in November. Our fiscal forecast is also little changed. Looking at what's happened to the outlook for government borrowing since November, lower debt interest and other spending reduces borrowing by an average of £15 billion a year over the next 5 years. But this is offset by less of an inflationary boost to underlying tax revenues by the 5th year of our forecast. These forecast changes give the Chancellor a net fiscal boost of around £10 billion a year over the next 2 years, but leave borrowing largely unchanged by the 5th year of our forecast. In his spring budget, the Chancellor spends all of this windfall on another 2p cut to national insurance and another freeze in fuel duty, whose cost is partly recouped by new taxes on vapes, carbon imports, and non-doms. The budget makes no significant changes to the planned level of spending on public services. Having first set out detailed department-by-department plans in October of 2021, the government has then topped these up in cash terms in successive fiscal events. But the real value of this spending per person has been steadily eroded since then, first by higher inflation, and then by higher growth in the population, meaning real per-person spending on public services no longer grows over the next 5 years. How does all this stack up against the fiscal rules? The forecasts and policy changes in this budget leave the Chancellor with £9 billion to spare against his aim of getting debt to fall as a share of GDP in 5 years' time. This sounds like a big number, but it's a small fraction of the risks of the fiscal outlook over this period. And you can find out more in our March 2024 Economic and Fiscal Outlook.